Hello, my name is Tonette Pegues, and the 5 high leverage practices that I chose to share with you are number 7, 8, 9, 11, and 17. High leverage practice number 7 is establishing a consistent, organized, and respectful learning environment. Number 8, provide positive and constructive feedback to guide students' learning and behavior. Number 9, teach social behaviors. Practice 11, identify and prioritize long and short-term learning goals. And lastly, number 17, I'll discuss using flexible grouping. High leverage practice number 7 is establish a consistent, organized, and respectful learning environment. I think this is extremely important because rules should be established early on and reinforced throughout the school year. I think in my class, I will ask students to help me come up with a social contract, which will set the tone for our class. We'll discuss what's acceptable behavior, what's unacceptable behavior, what are the rewards for the good behaviors, and what are the consequences for students who choose to make poor choices. I think it's important to involve students in the rules making process because then they're held more accountable. I can then say, this is what we decided we would do and is okay to do, and this is what we said are poor choices. So students will not only feel important in this process, they'll also feel like it's not just the teacher's rules. They had some input in it as well. I would provide positive and constructive feedback in guiding students' learning and their behavior by having a reward system to reward those students who do well as far as behavior or when they achieve academically. Perhaps a note home, positive note home, or positive phone call to let parents know that their child excelled or did well academically and or as in behavior. When students don't do so well, I may have to write a note in the agenda. I'll have verbal conferences with the students and we'll have a conversation about why the poor choice was made. I would want to remain consistent with my consequences for poor choices as well as remaining consistent with my positive rewards for good behavior. Practice number 9 is teaching social behaviors. This practice is important in the classroom because we get students from all walks of life. Some children come from homes where there are many children in the home. There's some who are only children. And so perhaps the child that comes from is the only child may not know how to positively interact with children who are used to having children around them on a daily basis. So I think it's important that we let students know this is what is acceptable in our room and this is unacceptable. I will issue verbal warnings for behavior that is not acceptable, and I also give verbal praise when students are displaying those positive behaviors. I will implement practice number 11, which is identifying and prioritizing long and short-term learning goals by ensuring that I write the best possible IEP for each child. In order to do that, I'll collaborate with general education teachers to see what students at that grade level, the average student at that grade level should accomplish, and customize my students' lesson plans to fall somewhere within that range. I will also observe, once I found that information, I will observe them constantly. I will give individualized attention. I will incorporate the help of the paraprofessional, and we will get our students up to par. I will also let my students know what those short-term and long-term learning goals are. so they can have something to work toward. I think students will tend to strive harder if they know there's a reward, if you will, at the end. And that being said, after students accomplish their goals, whether they're learning or behavior goals, there will be some type of award for them. I'm thinking, let's say AR goal. If my students reach their AR goal or exceeds the AR goal, I may ask parents if I could take their students to dinner one night. The students would choose wherever they like to go, and I would treat them, and I would ask the parents to join me. Parents have to pay for themselves, but I would ask them to come, and we would just have a celebration in their honor, just for achieving the goal. No matter how big or small, achieving a goal is achieving a goal. And lastly, practice number 17, using flexible grouping. I think it's important to move students around. That way I break up the monotony of the day. With the students, I don't have them just sitting in one spot all day long. That can be boring. As an adult, I don't like to do that. I definitely wouldn't expose them to that. And I would pair them sometimes with a buddy. But then there are other times where I will maybe pair a stronger and a weaker student. So the weaker student could learn from the stronger student, and the stronger student could learn from the weaker student as well. The stronger student would have to learn that not everybody gets it at the same time, but they have to learn patience with the weaker student, and the weaker student could probably glean from the stronger student the academic concept that maybe the teacher wasn't able to accurately relay.